Hi everybody, this is Dr. Lasky again. The purpose of this video is to explain how the parts of the whole fit together with your TRP. Every section or every chapter of your TRP, your teacher research project, has a particular role and it has a particular function. When doing research, there are two areas where we're asking you to be very systematic and structured with how you do things. One is in how you plan your research and collect your data and analyze your data, that whole part of the process. The other is how you write up your results. And the reason it's done in such a standardized and systematic way is in part because you're being taught the discipline, but the other is so that when anybody in the field takes a look at what you've done, they know where to go for the part that they need to see. So let's take a look at the PowerPoint presentation and explain through how the parts make the whole. So every TRP has several chapters. Each chapter will have a specific role and function. If one section is missing, you cannot see the whole. Chapter 1 is your introduction. This is where you quite literally introduce your study. And then what we have down here are for EDU 531, the elements that you need to include. One of the things I'll say here is that the variation that you will see across the field is in this area of what to include. Some people may not want you to talk about what brought you to a study. This is allowed, particularly in action research, having that personal voice, bringing your study to life by telling your reader what really interested you in this topic. In other kinds of methodology that you choose, you won't be able to talk about what brought you to the study. Okay? Chapter 2 is your literature review, and the role and function of the literature review is to anchor your research in prior work done in the field, but it's also where you establish the logic for your study and you make the argument for your study. And then what we have here, again, underneath the role and function, is what it is you need to include in your lit review. Chapter 3 is your research methods. And the role and function of this chapter is to provide logistical information on your research site, your data collection, and your data analysis. Chapter 3 continued here. These are the elements that your TRP will include. Your context, which is your site. Several of you cited articles on action research and you had them in your lit review. That actually goes into your methods section. So just copy and paste it directly into your methods section. You want your subsection on data collection, your data analysis, and then the other one for IRB approval, ethical considerations, and limitations of your study. Chapter 4 is where you literally present the results of your data analysis. What's the story your data tell? What do they reveal? How did your findings answer your guiding research questions? We'll be producing another video in the near future where I walk you guys through how to structure the narrative in your findings and discussion section. Here's what you will include in your TRP. Chapter 5 is your suggestions for practice. The role and function of this chapter is to address the practical implications of your study. So what do your findings actually mean for real life, day-to-day teaching and learning? I like to say this is where the rubber meets the road. the type of research you're doing should have some implication for real life practice. This is really the importance of doing action research within the one's own particular school. It's really to help you solve nuts and bolts problems that you face. And here's what your TRP will include. After your Chapter 5, you have your references. And this is where you give the full information on the sources you're cited in your narrative. And this is for verification purposes. It's also to help other people who want to do research in your area. They can go to your lit review and they can use it as a source for finding other research articles that they might be interested in. And the example I've taken here on the screen of how to do a reference is from Purdue OWL. The last section of your TRP will be your appendices. So in this section you will attach all support documents. This is where you actually include a copy of the IRB approval. You put your survey, a copy of your survey, you put a copy of your interview questions, and that'll be about it. When you put all of these independent pieces together, what you have is a coherent, well-structured story of your research journey.